As much as I would have wanted to like stay there, the feeling was just too strong that I wanted to leave. But then when I saw that Rent-to-Rent, which was like probably introduced to me in 2020, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool because I don't need as much capital to start and the barriers to entry is super low, so let me give that a go.
Nicole Klutzy is a former investment banker who left her lucrative finance career to build a thriving rent-to-rent business.
You mentioned the fact that the barriers to entry are lower. How much money is it that you need to actually get started, and can you start for as little as zero?
So the streets love to say it's as little as zero,
Okay.
but I would say, transparently speaking, it's not zero.
What makes a good rent-to-rent property?
So the fun fact is, I always say any property can be good, but
What are some of the common mistakes people make when they're getting into rent-to-rent, or some of the other mistakes people make?
people assume that you make money all year round, which was a mistake that I made when I first started. But it's not as profitable all year round, because in business, what works best is when you have a win-win situation. Like, nothing is for free in life, but if you're able to offer a valuable solution to another party and in exchange receive something, then like it's win-win for both parties.
Nicole,
Hello.
welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Yes, I've been looking so very forward to this conversation because speaking to you offline, you had the banking job, you had the finance job, and then despite that, you left it all behind.
I left it.
And you went into property.
I had to cut the cameras.
Before we dive into that, like take me back through your journey.
Yeah.
And yeah, like what is it you were doing before?
Yeah.
Why is it you left? And what is it you're doing now? So that like we're going straight into it.
Go straight in. So, we want the short version or the longer version?
We want the long version.
The longer version. Okay, cool. So at 16, I got kicked out of my sixth form because I didn't get the A levels that they required from me. So in my sixth form at the time, if you wanted to stay on, you had to get A's in the subject that you wanted to do.
Yep.
At first, I wanted to be a dentist. So we are going on a story time because clearly I'm not a dentist. So I wanted to be a dentist. Needed 3 A's in like chemistry, maths, and biology. Got a B in biology. My school were like, yeah, you need to go. So I changed.
Wow, just for a B?
Yeah, for a B.
Wow. So it wasn't even like you were a bad student.
No,
you were
no,
a good
no.
student.
I was a calm student.
When you hear, oh, I got kicked out,
yeah,
you're thinking, oh, you were somehow.
No,
but no.
I just got a B.
Okay.
I got a B, guys. So I got a B, left, changed sixth form, but in all things, everything always works out for the good. So yeah. Anyways, so I got the B, changed sixth form. That was good. But I feel like I was a bit dejected from that, like me having to leave and feeling like, oh my gosh, like I think because I went to a grammar school, I tied a lot of my impressions or my identity in terms of the grades I got. So when I had to move, even though the next sixth form I went to was amazing, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I failed. Like what's going to become of my life? Because that GCSEs, you think that's everything. 100%. So going to sixth form, like not really working as hard as I should do because I'm like, oh, if I fail again, it's just all embarrassing. Come to year 13 results day now, I really didn't do well now. Well, relatively speaking, or for what I should have got, I didn't get that, given I wanted to be a dentist. So I've got like a B and 2 C's at this point. So I'm definitely not doing dentistry now. So I wanted to take a gap year. My parents are like, you're absolutely not taking a gap year because I'm African. They were just like, absolutely not. You're messing up the play. So I went to study pharmacy. Wow. Did pharmacy for 2 years. Met amazing people. And then I did like work placement at the pharmacist. I said, what's going on? Like, you're making me rack my brain with the chemistry and the biology and the biological movements and all of this and that. And like, I just thought that, not to discredit anyone that does it, because pharmacy is amazing. My mom's a pharmacist, but it just wasn't marrying up for me. And I was like, nah, I'm really forcing it. Like, I absolutely hate chemistry.
The farm wasn't farming.
The farm weren't farming. I hate chemistry. And I just knew that year 3 and 4 were going to get really, really bad. So inflection point halfway through, I'm like, yeah. Like, I took it to prayer and I was like, God, what's happening? And then I genuinely felt like God was like, yeah, you're going to leave this.
Okay.
Redo your A-levels. Bear in mind, I flopped twice. Like, in my eyes, I flopped twice. So when God's like, yeah, do your A-levels again. I'm like, how that gonna work, God? You know I'm not, like, great at exams. Like, what do you mean? And he was just like, it's so funny because I always said to my friends, if I could do this uni thing again, I would go to the University of Nottingham. Like, I don't know why, but that's just where I feel like I wanted to go. So yeah, in that prayer time, God was like, you're going to leave this degree, you're going to do your A-levels again, and you're going to go to Nottingham.
Wait, so you had to wait, so you leave the degree,
leave pharmacy,
do
do A-levels again.
A-levels?
Go-
So not
we
even
go-
like you start uni
No,
again?
we go back 2 years.
Wow.
We go as in like to do my my gap. Like I took a gap year at this point now to redo like all my A-levels. So I had to condense like 2 years into one, and I had to redeem my grades from BCC to AAA again. And I'm like, God, like how can I even do this? I flopped prior.
What are your parents saying?
Oh, they're hating me.
Okay.
I'm the problem child. I'm the firstborn. You're messing up the play yet again, Nicole.
Yeah.
What is going on? So, but I felt like very convicted.
And then, okay, so let's say you're doing your A-levels again.
Yeah.
There must be a lot of pressure to decide on your career path,
Pro-max
right? And
pressure.
what you're going to study.
Yeah.
So how is it you come to the decision at that point?
So I think in all things, what this season taught me is, what do you actually enjoy? Like, let's not chase like what other people tell you to do. What do you actually enjoy? And I was like, when I think back to my sixth form time, I got a B in that economics. And I was just like, I'm killing myself with the biology and chemistry. And I love like econ. I didn't have to try as hard. And for A-level to get a B, that's actually like really quite good. 100%. So I was just like, nah, like if I'm going to do this uni thing again, I want to do economics. So in that time when I was like deciding where I want to go and what I want to do, I was like, I want to do econ and philosophy because I really enjoyed those two. And there was a perfect degree at Nottingham that does econ and philosophy. Again, I needed the 3 A's, so that's what I applied for. I'm grafting, doing my A-levels again.
What's your mental like at this point,
Rough.
right? Because obviously you've invested 2 years into something. You're getting pressure from your parents. You're making like a crazy decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what is like? Take me back to what Nicole is feeling at that time.
It was really rough. Just because, like, for me, being firstborn, like African girl, first gen, and then also the oldest girl. My parents are like, "What are you doing? Like, what has possessed you? Because we need to go to church and figure it out because what's going on." But I think at that time, I had like a really good friend that really like held me down in terms of encouraging me. Like when I told them the plan, they were really like, okay, cool, if this is the game plan and this is what you feel that it needs to be done, I'm gonna support you. And they really, really did. So they really came through with that. But I think that was like the really saving grace, because again, like I feel like when it comes to like shame, like African parents don't really like talking when your child's not really performing as well. So unbeknownst to them, my other friends who I didn't even know were also going through that season, but my parents were just like, they didn't really want to discuss it with anyone. They thought I was moving mad and they kind of like let me get on with it. But there was a lot of contention at the time in the house. But obviously now it's all great, and I'm grateful for them, and I understand for them it was from a place of love, fear, thinking that I'm going off the rails, and naturally they don't know what they don't know. It was for me to kind of show them that this pathway actually does work and just trust in me. So so I had to redo my A-levels, needed to get AAA. But actually, fun fact on results day, I didn't actually get the AAA. I got 2 A's and a B.
Again.
The
B is back.
The B is back.
Oh my.
But I still got into Nottingham, and I genuinely feel like, honestly, those were the best 3 years of my life. And it also taught me, like, when I actually put my mind to something, it kind of just was an inflection point for me, whereby like I've gone through life up until that point thinking like, oh, even if I try, I don't achieve. And I felt like, woe is me. But I think this year, where everything was down to the wire and I managed to take my grades from something that wasn't so great in my opinion to the grades I actually needed to get to the uni that I actually wanted. Because bear in mind, both times GCSEs I've tried, I haven't got what I wanted. When I've gone into the pharmacy, it's not what I wanted. So this was like the first time I was like, oh wow, like I can actually do this, put my mind to something. And when I say like, not manifest in a woo way, but when I say I believed I was going to Nottingham, if I could have only put one uni down on that form, I would have just put Nottingham. But obviously you have to put 5 and we have to hedge our bets.
Do you know what? I'm low-key jealous, because fun facts about me for the listener. Yeah. I put Nottingham on my list.
No way.
Rejected me. Nottingham was my first choice. But you know what? I got into Southampton, and honestly, it was like the best years of my life. So everything happens for a reason.
Everything does happen for a reason.
So just before, like, I ask you more questions on your university experience, like, to somebody who might be a bit younger and is listening to this and is at a crossroads in their life, and you know, they're not sure whether to stay on the path they're going or to hit that reset button. Like, what are the factors they should take into consideration, and what would your advice be to them?
I would say check in with yourself in your authenticity. Like, am I doing this for myself? Or am I doing this for the peoples? Because if you're doing this for the peoples, you're going to run out of juice at some point. If you're doing what you enjoy, okay, fair enough. It might not be the thing that everyone thinks is cool or everyone thinks is desirable. Obviously, within reason, don't be killing anyone. But if like what you're doing is honorable for yourself and it's just a thing of you just are not aligned with the opinions of other people, I would say stand in your own truth and chase that, because you're going to face severe burnout if you're trying to live up to other people's opinions and desires. So I would say if you feel the need to reset, like everything needs to be calculated. And when I say my story, it's so like but I was like very calculated my decision. Like, as much as I never wanted to go back to pharmacy, I did like pause the year. So God forbid if things didn't go well, I was finding my way back. But I knew in myself I didn't want to do that. But everything was hedged, so it's not like I'm completely exposed. So I would say when people do want to reset, don't like move crazy, because a lot of people have great stories and testimonies that you hear online, but you don't know, maybe their parents supported them, maybe they had some money, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, like, I don't know, like their uncle was somebody who could plug them, like nepotism, like you just don't know. So always take into account your story, your truth, your reality, and then like weigh it up for yourself.
And I love that. And I always say, like, if you're going to start something new, like you really have to know your why, because nothing is like this. Like, the pathway to success is long, it's hard, it's windy, and you're going to have moments of doubt. And it's in the moments of doubt, like if you don't have a why, like motivation only takes you so far.
Absolutely.
It's all about discipline, and like having that why like can keep you disciplined and on the pathway to greatness. 100%. So thank you for that. No, so okay, so we go to uni. Second time round. Like, obviously, you've done it twice. Do you feel like uni was worth the price of admission?
Ooh. See, okay, so I'm a bit biased because I got into my dream uni. I loved it. I had the best time.
But that's okay.
Exactly. So, but okay, worth the 9K. Golly. It's a bit hard to say because, and not saying that this inherently determines its value or worth, but then I came out to a 50K job. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe I have spent 27, well, a bit more for me, but 27K for uni, but then I came out to a job which was, it was a high earning potential.
That's very high.
Very high, which isn't the norm. However, if I were to come out on something that's, I don't know, the average is like 25?
Like 27, 28,
Why did I don't know. Like, but then at the same time, it's...
So it's about if you got that plan and you know you're coming out to a job that
makes
sense.
Help
to like pay it back,
financially makes sense. Then I think that doesn't make sense. If you want to be a doctor, lawyer, all of like the careers that require the degree, of course the degree is always going to be necessary. But then if not, then I don't think it's the be all and end all. And it's quite interesting. I was talking about this with my mum today. Life has changed so much in the sense of careers that maybe in one season or maybe our parents would have looked down on are making money.
Facts.
If like, who would have known a decade ago that start on YouTube and you could be earning 5 racks a month if you take that seriously? Your parents are gonna, like, for example, my parents would have been like, okay, that's all cute, but make sure you're doing the needful at school and doing and excelling. Like, do you get it? And like, my mum would be like, my parents would be like, back in the day, like, you're gonna end up like, you can't just sit down and think you're gonna be a hairdresser. But look at these hairdressers now and the wig makers, and they're doing their thing. So it's just like, that's why I'm really quite big on, within reason, follow what you're good at. Because the money will come after. If you actually follow like, okay, cool, I want to be a speaker. To other people's like, what's speaking going to get you? But you're hearing public speakers that actually are making impact. And it's not always about financial gain. It can also be about the impact that you leave as well. So you need to think about that.
I love it. So you went back a second time and you did economics and philosophy.
No, so I didn't get that. So I did industrial econ.
Okay, so you didn't get that, but you got industrial
which
economics.
I think was needed. I love my degree. I loved it,
You loved it, and it was a 3-year degree.
3 years.
At what point this time around do you start thinking about the after? Like, you mentioned the fact that you go out to 50K. Like, what job is that, and at what point do you understand the career path you're taking?
So when I left my pharmacy, I knew that the game plan was investment banking. And if you think about it, because all my friends, whilst I left, were still in uni, those who were chasing that investment banking bag, I now knew what it took to get in. So when I started again, I've gone in with a mission. Like, I'm here trying to get my first. I said I'm going to get a first, and I'm gonna do all these internships and like things that are gonna make me desirable so for when I leave. So by the second year I already had a job like ahead of me leaving.
Wow.
So like you couldn't chat to me, like the game was on because
Yeah.
I really felt like I'm behind, so I need to catch up a bit. So yeah, so when I went there, like first year there's a thing called spring week which you do for like a few days at the different banks. I did that. Then and then if they deem you worthy or good, then you'll come back to do the summer internship. So I did a summer internship, and then if you're good at the 10-week internship, then you secure a grad job in your second year. So that was like my goal. I said I am not leaving this university without a job.
Wow.
So yeah.
And like on that, securing it, was the job secured on the requisite that you got a first, or like regardless of what happened, you came out to a job?
Oh, you would. I think like the type of people that like go for investment banking, they're not the type to not get like a good grade. So like it's kind of like you'll be back next year. Yeah. Don't mess up. We'll see you next year. So that was it. The first was just like I think a me thing. Like I just said I want to get a first, and again it was like kind of like proving myself thing. Like just wanted to do it. So yeah, I did it.
I love it. You got it. Congrats. And then you come out. You have this job. Like, talk to me, like, to the listener who might not know what investment banking is. How is it you would define investment banking, and what was your day-to-day like in your first investment banking job?
So investment banking, if I were to put it in layman's terms, you've got like different branches, different divisions. I was in a division called sales and trading. So similarly to like traders, what traders do at home, like we're buying stocks, selling stocks on behalf of our clients, and naturally you want to buy low, sell higher, and then that's the way the bank will make its money. For simple terms.
So, are you familiar with the show on BBC called Industry?
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Oh,
yeah, I know, but yeah, that's it. There we go. That's it.
It's like
from what people describe, that's it. But obviously, it's a bit dramatized.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through my trauma, so I didn't really need to relive it. I was going through my own trauma, so yeah, the Industry.
Okay, cool. It was like Industry.
Kind of, yeah.
What are the hours like?
So for me, on my desk, it was 7 a.m. When I left my last role, it was 7 a.m. to about 5, 6.
Oh, okay. Early start,
yeah,
but you leave at 5.
Yeah, it's not so bad. 5, yeah, it's not that bad.
My goodness. And how long did you end up staying in investment banking for?
3 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And to somebody who is listening to this conversation and is thinking about that as a career, like what are the skills required to be successful in investment banking?
I would say you need to be analytical. You need to have attention to detail, really good level of emotional intelligence, and the ability to speak to people, because confidence goes a really long way in those industries. And just like a willingness to, I don't know, really work hard as well, because in some cases a lot of knowledge is assumed, so you need to be doing that extra work on the weekend.
Wow.
The learning curve is really steep, and no one can, people say it, but it's only once you get there that you're like, oh wow, like they've taught me something with a whole heap of jargon. I don't understand a word of it, so I need to go over the weekend to make sure I can consolidate that, because when they tell me the next time, I better understand what's happened.
So let's say like a typical working week would be like 8 times 5, 40 hours.
Yeah.
With the work you're doing on the weekends and stuff, you could be doing 50 hours, maybe 60 hours, and like people are calling you at all times and you have to be on? Or no?
I would say just because with sales and trading, you deal with the markets, and the markets are only open between particular times, where you have a different division called like IBD, which might like include like mergers and acquisitions. So like if two firms are
mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
I thought you said murders and
no,
acquisitions.
no. Mergers.
I'm joking.
So like if two firms want to like be bought and like one's taking over another, or two firms are coming together, those hours are a bit longer. I couldn't speak to the hours that they do, but they're definitely a lot longer than sales and trading.
Okay, I love it. And then I have to go back to the salary because I need to really paint the context. So you come out of uni on a 50k salary, which is like insane. Like for context, when I came out of uni, my first salary was like 20. So I know that 50 bands is like, hey,
it's a flex.
Like it's good. So like, if like you were in investment banking for 3 years, and I know from your personal content, you're like, you kind of left like a 6-figure job, shall we say, to, you know, get into property. If you continue down the investment banking path, like where does the ceiling go to? What can somebody in investment banking earn?
Like obviously talking about salaries in work is quite taboo, but easily like way over 100,
Yeah.
like easily over 100. But in terms of the ceilings, I don't even know, because that's the big people talk. That was above my pay grade, so I don't even know. But it's definitely high, and obviously we have bonuses and things like that, so it can really add up.
So 6 figures, high 6 figures, and then maybe even 7. Who knows? You get
when
there.
you're the seat, like I'm
Okay.
sure them. Yeah,
Okay,
probably.
but
I don't know.
Regardless of this, you know, you're earning very well. You're there for 3 years. You're working your way up. Like, you don't stay there. So yeah, talk to me about like what led to you deciding to leave, you know, such a lucrative and successful career behind.
Yeah.
And yeah, what is it you're doing now?
So for me, again, I just kind of had that feeling with like the whole pharmacy thing of alignment, and being transparent, I didn't necessarily have the best time even from the internship. And I would say to some extent that I was very much blinded by the financial gain. That I was just like, however this is gonna work, it's gonna work because I need to get paid.
Yeah.
But had I looked at maybe my skill set, I probably would have maybe appreciated earlier on that I wasn't quite aligned with what was required, because I'm quite creative, and I don't feel investment banking gives you that space to necessarily be like creative. Like, I love like creating my content. I love the interior design of what I do now, which we'll get into. Like, that's the highlight of it. Like, if I actually think about it, even the finance modules at uni were like the ones that I was struggling with probably the most. But because I was lured by the finances, the financial gain, I was like, no, I'm going to make it work. And for me, some people that works for them, but I said, like, we live a long life to just like squeeze into somewhere that maybe we're not actually called to be. So yeah, that was quite like, it was a tough decision, because the opportunity cost of leaving that money on the table was quite a difficult decision to make. But at the same time, I was like reading a lot in terms of like books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, just the idea of exchanging time for money. I was just like, yes, this is a good salary and it will get better. But then I just started to think about, okay, what does Nicole want? Like, because I've always said, for me, I would love to be, when God blesses me a family, to be at home with my family. And I just didn't really see that many women in investment banking at the top level. And if they did they have a family? Or if they were at the top, did they have a family? And if they like had a family, how much did they have to sacrifice to be there? It was a real thing that I was just like, I don't know about that. So that's when I just started to really, again, look into myself to say, what does Nicole actually want? And I'm really big on therapy. So I've done therapy, and I think that opened myself up to actually say, okay, what does Nicole authentically want? Like, forget the noise, forget what your parents are saying, forget what society says. What is good for Nicole? Because at the end of the day, you have to live with your decisions, only you. So you need to make sure that it's one that's aligned with you, so that you can actually like go the course.
Okay, I love it. And then how is it you settle on Rent-to-Rent?
So I started during lockdown. So bear in mind, I've started my job in lockdown, and I've also started learning about property in lockdown. So I'm thinking like, oh, I'm an investment banker. I'm going to rise my money real quick, and it's not going to be a problem. I'll be buying houses like Monopoly. It's not a problem. But then I then, again, reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was like, okay, cool. If I buy this house, I am stuck in this job. Like, there's no like, taking a risk and leaving because you have a whole mortgage on your head. And I was just like, as much as I would have wanted to like stay there, the feeling was just too strong that I wanted to leave. So I stumbled upon property. At first I was going to go to the traditional route, and then
is the traditional route buy a house, rent out rooms?
Yeah, buy a house, rent out rooms, and then maybe wait to save your next deposit and then buy another house. So that was like the extent, because that's what I'd seen like people around me, my parents do. But then when I saw that Rent-to-Rent, which was like probably introduced to me in 2020, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool, because I don't need as much capital to start, and the barriers to entry is super low, so let me give that a go. Like I would say I probably got introduced to property in 2021, and then subsequently I'm just like researching it. Like, this was like a whole epiphany moment, because I'm listening to a lot of things right now. I'm finding about property, I'm reading about financial literacy, I'm reading about like how to protect yourself for the future. I'm learning a lot at one time. So yeah, it took me quite a while to decide like, okay, no, this is actually something that can be done and should be done and is wise to do, because I feel like society doesn't necessarily teach you these things, neither does school. It's just kind of like, go through and we're going to program you to be a certain type of way so you can be a machine in our cog. I don't know how a red card that is, but I've just a cog in our machine, sorry. I don't know how red card that is to say, but that's just how I feel after just reading a lot. So yeah, I just decided on Rent-to-Rent just because it was a low barrier to entry.
Okay, great. And then to those listening and like me are like, what's Rent-to-Rent? Like, how is it you would define Rent-to-Rent?
So simple layman's terms, Rent-to-Rent is essentially a hotel without staff. That's what like Samuel Leeds would say, who's like a big property guy if you don't know. And essentially, if I do simple numbers, I would rent out a property from a landlord and then rent it out on a nightly rate on Airbnb and Booking.com. So if I rent out a property on Airbnb and it's £1,000 and the nightly rate is £100, if I'm booked up for 25 days of the month,
25 grand. I mean, 2,500. Damn.
Yeah.
Shit, my numbers be off. No, yeah,
then I give
grand.
the landlord his 1,000 and then I'll take the rest. So that's how it works.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. My first one, you know, people will hear those numbers and think, oh my God, how? Like, this sounds too good to be true. My first question is, actually, let me just make sure I get this right. Yeah. So my first question is that legal?
Yeah.
Because I hear subletting, this, that and the other. Subletting, I don't know if it's legal or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, is it legal is my first question.
So if I were to do it in my name as Nicole, then that's absolutely illegal.
Okay.
But when you do it under a company structure, that's fine. So you wouldn't sign a standard like normal tenancy agreement. There's like a company agreement that you sign between you or the landlord or you or the estate agent.
Okay. And then all right, because I'm like renting it from a landlord and then I'm finding people to rent it off me. You mentioned the fact that the barriers to entry are lower. How much money is it that you need to actually get started, and can you start for as little as zero?
So the streets love to say it's as little as zero, but I would say, transparently speaking, it's not zero.
Okay.
But it's a lot less than if you were to secure like a whole house and purchase it for yourself. I would say.
What's best practice for like funds? Yeah, you should have readily available.
I would say it depends, because my first unit was in Liverpool, and then the rest of them are actually in London. So with the Liverpool one, I would say that was around like 5 to 6, and then the London
K or 100?
K.
Okay,
sorry,
K.
So,
and why is it you needed that starting like?
So deposit, so rent, and then the deposit, and then staging of the property. So I had to furnish it quite a fair. No, that was halfway furnished, but naturally, because it was my first one, I made some mistakes, so I bought things that were more expensive than I should have done. But like, I would say staging was around 3k.
And
so
by staging, you mean furnishing the property?
Furnishing.
Sorry,
I
know the property people are going to be listening, but I'm no Bob the Builder.
So staging, so making the throws, the pillows, and even though I'm just saying throws and pillows, it sounds like it shouldn't be that much, but the costs add up, like kettle, toaster, cutlery, everything to stage the property ready. So when you go to an Airbnb and you've got everything that you need there, that's the level that I need to present.
Okay, and I'm just going to go down this rabbit hole quickly because you mentioned the fact that in your first property you made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
What are some of the common mistakes people make when they're getting into rent-to-rent, or some of the other mistakes people make?
I would say one, like they think that as soon as they've got the unit that hard work is done. Like, yep, I've done, like you have to like tweak your nightly rates. You have to, like, there's a lot of work that goes into it in terms of like even communication with guests, potentially even marketing, especially in the like low season. So that's a big mistake. People assume that you make money all year round, which was a mistake that I made when I first started.
So you don't?
Not like, you will make money, but not as much.
Okay.
Profit is not as profitable all year round, because summer it can be like crazy. Like you could make 1, 2, 3k on just one unit, but then winter, in the bleak midwinter,
it's cold. It gets cold outside. It gets
real cold, and you have to really change strategies. In my first year, November, I'm like, so I've got this unit, I've done all my numbers or due diligence, thinking that I can get £100 a night, and I was. Then November came and no one's booking, but I'm so proud. I had so much pride, thinking like, no, I know it's gonna go 100. I'm not going a penny down. Yeah, that whole month, because I was so proud and I didn't respond to the demand, I lost money that month. Okay. But it was for me to realize, okay, cool, like the demand isn't as high, so let's tweak your numbers and bring it down a bit. So that's just what I mean. Like, so maybe let's say if rent is £1,000 and I charge £100, like as the number said, like naturally I'm going to be more profitable. However, if I bring it down maybe to like £80, I'm going to make less profit, but at least I've got people in there.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sick. And then in terms of like finding these properties, like what makes a good rent-to-rent property?
So the fun fact is, I always say any property can be good.
Okay.
But your due diligence is important, because I always say, this is the example I give. If someone gave you a property in the slums, but it was only like £10, as much as it's in a crazy location, I'm sure one person on the whole of Airbnb would stay there for one night. And if you're charging something reasonable, that means you've made your money. You've made the £10, you pay the landlord, and now the rest of it's yours. Equally, if you have a nice house that's so amazing, so perfect, but there's a premium to it, as nice as that house is, there's going to be a ceiling on how much you can charge in that area. So you always need to be careful, because people will forget the numbers and be lost in how amazing a place looks, and that's gonna get you down like real quick. And I would also say that making sure that the numbers are good. And also, when I first started, I assumed that it had to be this sexy 1-bed apartment. That's what everybody wants, because that's my taste. But there's people here with there's so many different types of people on Airbnb. It might be your work stay, it might be a contractor, and they don't care maybe if it's in the city centre. They might want it outskirts, but they want a big house so they can park their car, because maybe 5 of the men working on site want that place to stay. So you don't necessarily, there's not one size fits all. You just need to know who you're serving, your ideal avatar, and then find the property like that.
And just as you speak there, is your business all coming through things like booking.com and Airbnb, or is it through any other, or can it be direct to you?
It can be direct to me, so people could find me on LinkedIn and social media, but primarily I'd say Airbnb. But the beauty of it is that once someone stays with you, provided you do a good job, they could come back here, they could come back again, and they don't need to go through Airbnb. They can just message you now and say, hey, stayed last time, can we stay again? And that's good.
And then as I listen to this, what is the ideal tenant profile, right? Because Airbnb, like you say, is very seasonal. But if you could lock in somebody who wants a place for a year, for 6 months, surely that's guaranteed income. So what does the ideal tenant profile look like?
So for me, the ideal tenant profile, which is kind of what I pivoted to, is other businesses. So a relocation company, they might reach out to you saying that we have this person who wants to relocate and they're looking for a place to stay for 6 months. That's perfect. People who have insurance days, perfect. As for me and my house, I don't really do the holiday, the 1-2 nights. I haven't done that for a while now. Mine is focused more on long-term guests. So in one of my units, I've had a guest there for 200 days at this point. Wow. And that's I'm whew, that's great for me, because that's guaranteed, and I don't need to necessarily worry about them as much, just because they've now treated that place as a home. So I know they're going to look after it. So that's just perfect. Okay,
so let's take that example. You've had that guest there for 200 days. They serve you notice to be next month, you know what, it's been great, Nicole, but we're out of here.
Yeah.
How is it you go about getting that place filled again?
So just back on Airbnb. My place, it'll just be open back on Airbnb. Okay. And especially now that we're hitting the summer period, I don't really stress. And that's why location is everything. Because if you've got a good location, you don't necessarily need to stress. Sometimes my places might be a bit empty for 1 or 2 days, but I'm not too stressed, because I know something will come through. With service accommodation, which is what Rent-to-Rent, and me doing Airbnb comes under rent to service accommodation. So I'll use that word interchangeably. You have to hold your nerve, because if you think about it, sometimes you've gone on holiday or gone away and you book something 2 days before. So in that same vein, I also need to sit tight and know that if I drop my prices too prematurely, I could miss out on someone who would have been happy to pay my higher price, but they just haven't booked yet because they're just not organized, which is fine. So it's an interesting game. So if they gave me notice to say that they wanted to move because of my locations, I wouldn't be too stressed.
Okay. And then this is a bit of a I don't want to call it a cynical question, but to me and to you, we're all about profit, right? Why would the landlord do it and not just find someone themselves? Why is it that this works so well for all parties?
Because we need to understand that everyone has their journey in life. So for example, a landlord might have 20 units and he's been doing this for 20 years. At year 20, he's tired. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to hear about another, my toilet's broken, I can't pay. Whereas he comes to me and I'm like, I can give you guaranteed rent. You never have to worry about maintenance or management. When you give me a house, I'm going to like look after it because our interests are aligned. Because if this place becomes terrible, guests are going to complain at me, and I don't want that. So like, you just have to think in all cases, what is the win-win for this landlord? What does this landlord need? So for example, for me, my first landlord, he's a big time developer. He doesn't care about one house in Liverpool, one flat in Liverpool with rent of £1,000. He truly doesn't care. So, but for me, that's everything. That was like my first, like, oh my gosh, wow. But like, we're in different stages, and that's just how life goes. So as much as people might think like, oh, why would someone do that? You have to think that everyone has their why and their season as to why they do things.
I love it. And then, like, as you said that, like, going back to what you were saying about, you know, people put their thing on Airbnb and they expect it to be taken. Like, what is the lead time between starting to rent from a landlord and being able to fill the place? And yeah, what helps you to bring that time down?
So for me, I would say I just put pressure on myself. So every house that I get, I'm like, in 7 days this needs to be done. I don't care if I don't sleep.
And what does done mean?
Done as in furnished, ready. Like, pictures have been taken. Like, it's on Airbnb in 7 days. Like, I don't really play just because you need to, as you said, bring that lead time down. Once it's in a decent state, like decent-ish, like we're gonna finish 1 or 2 days out, then I might like put on Airbnb and just see like what bites. So that's what I do.
And in terms of like finding competitive pricing, is it just a case of researching other Airbnbs in the area and pricing accordingly?
Yeah, researching other Airbnbs. There's like a dynamic pricing tool that's called Price Labs, which can help you like price up competitively in comparison to what others are charging. However, every system cannot replace yourself, so you still need to keep your eyes on it and make sure that it's actually accurate, because things change all the time.
I love it. And then, like, what is the most challenging thing about rent to rent?
I would say the challenging part, as is with any business, is just cash flow. Because yeah, it's profitable, but some, like for example, some like online travel agents, which is like Airbnb, Booking.com, some of them pay in different ways. So for example, Airbnb pay as soon as the guest comes in. However, Booking.com pays when the person leaves. So if I've got someone that's staying there for 6 weeks, I'm not going to get paid until they leave after 6. So
wow.
Yeah, so cash flow in that sense. I would say that's the most annoying thing.
And like, what happens? Okay, and what about like shysters? And what I mean by shysters, like people who are like, oh, the sink's broken. Oh, there's a stain.
Yeah.
Oh, my stay was crap.
Yeah.
Give me my peas back. How is it you handle situations like that?
Yeah, the street should not play with me because I'm gonna get you back now. I had that the other day. Sorry, I had that the other day actually. But before it would like affect me so much. I'd be like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna say? But yeah, you give a bad review and I feel like it's unwarranted, I'm gonna get you right back. I'm gonna reply to your review and say you are a scammer, because that's false. Like for example, people will be like, oh my gosh, the stay was so bad, but you stayed the whole time. How did that make sense? Like if it was so bad, you would have left. And like little things like that. But you have to like appreciate, like, humans are humans. Like you're not gonna be able to please everyone. People can be difficult, but you just have to. Like, I feel like in general, business teaches you to kind of like brush it. Like, you can't let everything get to you. Just deal with it accordingly as best as you can, and then just like keep it moving. But like, people will be people. They'll try you all the time.
Do major events impact your earnings? So like, I'm thinking the Queen died.
Yeah.
And like, I lived in Aldgate,
yeah.
we could see the queues from
really?
and me and my housemate were thinking about
should we
bust out? Should we just bust out while people are looking you know, honestly. Let them look at the Queen, come stay in our place, and we'll come back after 2 weeks.
No, it's actually crazy. Like,
so like, do major events like that really, because like the Olympics just been in Paris, right? If you were in Paris,
crazy,
it'd be through the roof. So are you hoping that there are events all the time in London because it helps to drive up the price?
Yes and no. So when I first started, yes, because I was focused more on the longer term stay, but then the shortest term stay. But now that I focus more on the longer term stay, that doesn't impact me as much, because for me, I'm kind of prefer the guarantee over like, oh, one sporadic like £500 night, but then everything else is dead, because then it doesn't really make sense. I would rather like know that, okay, this person's staying in for 30 days and it's going to be 1k profit. Like, I'm happy about that, even if I don't benefit from that. Like, I don't know, wireless event happening, it's fine for me. Like,
You'd rather like slow and steady over a long
100%,
period of time.
100%.
Smart.
Yeah.
And then like, I know you mentioned the fact that, you know, the only expense really is for the landlord. But what about like upkeep of property? Who does that lie with?
So it just all depends. Like, and this is like the beauty of it. So big ticket items, like let's say the boiler breaks and things like that, that's the landlord. If like the guest has broken something, then that would be them. But naturally, as a business, you do have to think, okay, cool, you want to put maybe aside like a 10%, 5% of maybe a nightly stay or the rental amount. Like think, okay, I need to have 5% on top of that to save just in case I need to do any maintenance bits. But realistically, if it's something that's broken and it's big ticket, that's the landlord. If the guest has broken something, they're going to pay for it. So you rarely have to come in with your own money to pay for things. But naturally, as a business, you have to think that things will break sometimes, and it's like neither party's fault. That's your responsibility. But then that's where profit comes in, and you'll just take it from your bottom line.
I love that. And then like in terms of actual like legal agreements and making sure you're covered, I know you're like, big ticket, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
You know, if the guest breaks it, they're going to take it. But like that only happens if you have like a sound legal agreement, right?
Yeah.
So like, do you have a lawyer? And what should people do to make sure that everything is
airtight?
Yeah.
I would say, you need contracts. Your contracts need to be in place. That's super imperative. Making sure that they're robust and sound. But also like, obviously, this is like, maybe this is me being naive, but also just having conversations with people. Not to say to know what kind of people they are, because anyone can change up at any point. But I think having that like discussion with the landlord, because a contract, obviously it's good, but a contract really only matters when you get to like, God forbid, the court. Like up until that point, you should be having open, transparent conversations. And people always ask me, so do you tell your landlord what you do? Like, absolutely, because you want them to be on side, because you don't want them to find out and be bamboozled, because they're just going to be, even if they were happy with the whatever was going on, they're going to feel frustrated that you haven't been transparent. So I think transparency is just really important. Like you say, okay, landlord, if boiler breaks, if roof breaks, if this happens, that's you. And then to the guests, and they have terms and conditions. I also make them sign terms and conditions that says if anything happens whilst you're here and that's on you, then you will lose your deposit or you have to pay this.
So you get them to sign that on top of what they would have signed with Airbnb, or as part of that?
On top of that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I'm really understanding this. So as of now, how many properties do you have roughly?
6.
You have 6?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your goal? What's your goal with everything? How many do you want to have?
So I would say the goal always, like, it doesn't always change actually. The short-term goal is to get to 10. That's the first goal. And then the bigger goal, we'll see where we're at. But like my first goal is to get this business systemized, all singing, all dancing, without like me having to necessarily do like focus on it every single day. So I'm in the process of like trying to get a virtual assistant who's like based in the Philippines to help me run the operations of this business. So that's me. So then I can focus on things that like financially like move the needle. For example, getting new units. So that's my main goal: get to 10, systemize, like so it's airtight, and iron out any inefficiencies.
And I love that. And then you mentioned with the 4 properties you're going to look at to get to 10.
Yeah.
What locations are you looking at? Because I know you said you started in Liverpool, but now the rest of your properties in London.
Yeah.
Is London the spot?
I would say that.
Not that you want to get competition, and that, but, you know.
There's more than enough to go around.
Okay.
I would say London. I don't know. I just enjoy it, and I just feel like the profit margins for me, I found have been better in London than in Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool has lower rent, but we're about the profit, so it's higher risk, higher reward. So I would say London for me.
And like, what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you were first getting into it?
In general, business is not easy. Business is really hard. It will test your mental. It will test like even like friendships, people around you. It's just hard because you have to. I was even thinking about it today, like. People might leave their role because they're good at that particular thing and say that they want to run a business doing that thing. But you're good at that thing. But have you thought about marketing, finances? Have you thought about like outreach and newsletters and putting together a system and a funnel? all of that constitutes a business. And when you think that, oh my gosh, like I have to think that I have to do things I'm bad at every single day, because if I don't do it, no one else is going to do it. That is the most humbling experience ever. But at the same time, I think business is so rewarding, because I truly believe that your business is a reflection of you. So if you're disorganized, your business is going to be disorganized. If you like quit at the last minute, that will be evident in your business. So in order for your business to grow, you as a person have to grow, because you need to, especially when you don't have other people to support you, you need to be that person to see things through, to be organized so that this business can run. So whilst business is so difficult, it's so rewarding at the same time. So
So my next question is, how do you see the rent-to-rent property sector evolving over the next few years?
So I think that naturally, probably in time, there probably will be more red tape around it, because right now it's kind of new. So that's why there's low barriers to entry. That's why you're finding a lot of people doing it. So I feel like probably there will be more restrictions around what constitutes as something that can be a service accommodation and what can't. Like, I feel like, there'll definitely be more red tape around it. That's the main thing that I see.
More regulation, basically.
More regulation,
Okay.
More regulation.
And then, like, what are some like misconceptions about the industry? So what are some preconceived ideas people have about rent-to-rent that are just like wrong?
Preconceived ideas is that it's easy, because it's not. That it's like that it doesn't work, because why would a landlord want to give it to you? But we've already touched on that, which is exactly what I thought as well when I first started. But then having worked with my landlords, I'm like, oh, I understand. Like, I'm adding value to them. I'm helping them. Like, I feel like in business, what works best is when you have a win-win situation. Like, nothing is for free in life. But if you're able to offer a valuable solution to another party and in exchange receive something, then like it's win-win for both parties. So it works out beneficially for both. What other preconceived ideas? That is profitable all year round. Zero money down. That's the big one. That is zero money down, because it's not. But then obviously you can caveat it and say, oh, zero of my money down, because I've had units where I haven't had to put my own money in, and investors have like put the money in, and we've worked out like paying them back or whatever. But you definitely need money. That's the main misconception. You need money.
I love it. And then to anybody who's listened to this conversation to this point and is thinking about pulling the trigger and getting their first rent-to-rent, like what is your main piece of advice to them?
Get mentorship.
Okay.
I think for me, because people be like, oh my gosh, you scaled quite quickly. But I'm really big on like mentorship. I'm really big on really shortening your learning time. I'm so big on leveraging from other people's experiences. If someone's gone before me and they've done it and they're successful, why on God's green earth would I be tinkering around thinking that I can figure out myself? It doesn't make sense. I would naturally, time is super valuable, so I'd pay them what they desire to learn, and obviously make sure that that's the right mentor for you, but learn from them, because it will just save you so much time. Because I feel like within reason, my journey has been, not to say that it's smooth, because it's nothing is smooth, as you said, but it's been manageable, because like I've had people around me who I can be like, hey, this has just happened, like, have you experienced it? Or this has just happened, do you know how I can overcome it? And they're answering me on WhatsApp in 5 minutes. So I don't even need to stress. I don't need to lose money. I'm able to rectify that issue like immediately. And that's what I think mentorship really does. It's like a leverage in this whole thing.
How is it someone can go about finding the right mentor?
Like, I would say do your research, whoever fits well with you. So there's so many people offering mentorship, but I would say like study them. What do they do? Like, how long have they been doing it? Their like testimonials and things like that. It will really give good insight to like if they're going to be suitable for you. Okay,
I love it. And then just on like that study piece, in terms of like literature and resources people can use to level up in the property game, is there anyone that comes to mind who you recommend people should check out like after this?
100%. So Samuel Leeds is who I learned from. Like, he's a wealth of knowledge, so great, like a really good businessman, I'd say, in general as well. And then there's Dami as well, Dami Property Lifestyle. I learned from him as well. And then Bricks with Tips, I've also learned from him as well. Like those I would say those three gentlemen have like really shared so much knowledge with me, and like I've always been on hand to help on my journey.
And when you say like they've shared knowledge with you, is that through YouTube? Or is it through like direct, like you can WhatsApp them, you actually have a relationship with them?
You gotta pay to play.
Okay.
You gotta pay to play. So yeah, I'm big on that, because I'm just like,
oh, so you pay to be added into like a community?
WhatsApp. So I paid Samuel Lee's. I was on his academy, which was like a year-long like mentorship program. I learned all the strategies for Dami and Tayo, Bricks or Tips. I pay to be in their WhatsApp community. Because like when people pay, they pay attention. Like if you've actually put your capital,
skin in the game.
You think you're not gonna be like, oh, I couldn't be able to do your modules, and like, nah, like, yeah.
And like, I think I had a guest who said it, like the return of investment when investing in yourself, it's infinite. It's infinite.
Yeah.
So you really just have to do it.
Exactly.
And you know, that leads us nicely into, you're now doing some mentorship.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that?
So I've been doing that. So I'm taking on students. We've been having such a good time. Like I'm so like not strict, but I'm like firm but fair, because I want you guys to win, my students to win. So we'll be doing like role plays, like in terms of how to speak to landlords, because I feel like that's what a lot of people struggle with. How do you actually get landlords to say yes? So we go through role plays, and it's like a really comprehensive 8-week hand-holding course that will just take them through so they can get their first unit like within 90 days.
Okay, so your course is all about helping people to get their first unit and giving them the tips and tricks to communicate with landlords and all the do's and don'ts. Basically, legals. Stopping them making the mistakes you made and saving them time.
Exactly.
We're going to link it in the description. I'm going to put my code on it as well, so I can break myself a little bit of change. Nicole didn't know I was going to do that.
Gotta check any way you can. Multiple streams of income.
That's it. I receive it. And then, like just as we round out this part, I know you kind of touched upon it at the start of the conversation. Like you went through some emotional challenges, I would say, mental challenges, and I know from like watching your content, you say mindset is key. So yeah, like what is it you've done to build your winning mindset?
So I would say first and foremost for me, which I will never not speak about, is my faith. That's been like absolutely paramount in terms of building my mindset, just because like I just believe like so much is like above me. So like everything, I'm looked after by God. He's got me in his hands. I'm going to be good. Even if things don't look like it right now, like I'm going to be good because I know who I am based on whose I am. So the first thing for me is like my faith. That's been paramount. But then secondly, as I mentioned before, I did therapy for a long time, just because secretly I feel like everybody should do therapy.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Do you think therapy is like...
Everyone should do it. Yeah. Because as much as you might have thought like you had the most perfect upbringing, there would have been maybe one like section in your life where it wasn't quite what you wanted it to be. Not saying that it was terrible, but it might have impacted you in some way. And that, unbeknownst, knowingly or unknowingly, will manifest itself in other ways as you grow, as you enter relationships, and you just think that that was something that was innocent, but it actually wasn't, and it affects you moving forward. I feel like everyone would do well with some bit of therapy, but yeah, therapy has been really good. It allowed me to step into my authentic self, and like build healthy boundaries and be okay with saying no. Like, yeah, so it's been really, really powerful for me. I love it.
And then final thing, like content creation. So I see you giving a lot of gems online, sharing your stories, sharing your journey. Like why is it you think it's important to post and create this content online?
Because I just feel like, similar to what you're doing, you want to share the knowledge that you have. I feel like knowledge isn't meant to be acquired for yourself and for yourself alone. I feel like you're meant to be blessed, so you got that knowledge, you were blessed, and then you're meant to be a blessing onto others. And I feel like we all got here based on someone sharing. We all got to where we are based on someone else sharing that knowledge to us, and that's helped us to get to where we are today. So I just want to also like give back to other people and let other people know that like maybe if you're feeling down, like you're not a failure, like there's options, like you're not the only one who's gone through that situation. You might have failed your A-levels, you might have failed your uni, you might have no friends. Like there's someone out there who's been through that with you, and by you sharing your testimony, that is like helping someone else get through or have their breakthrough or experience their breakthrough. And I think that's what we're called on earth to do, actually.
I love it, and I agree. I agree with you, like, totally. How is it you go about deciding what it is you're going to post?
I'll be real, Holy Spirit.
I love it.
Holy Spirit and a bit of ChatGPT, but
Okay. Oh, okay.
got a mix of two, supernatural.
I love it.
So
That's real.
No, that's actually like genuinely. I feel like you always have the best ideas in the shower. Like I'll be like halfway out the shower, like, okay, don't forget this. But honestly, but the thing is, as I said, I'm so creative. Like I'll just sit there one day and I'll just think about 3 LinkedIn posts, and then I'll think about my Insta, like my YouTube. Like it will just come to me. But then that's what I feel like. When you have your natural callings and what you're good at, you have to lean into it, because that is the thing that will actually make, I don't know, wealth creation a lot easier for you, because you're tapping into something that just naturally comes easily to you. So for me, talking to people, I love it. So doing this is like such a privilege. So thank you once again.
My pleasure.
Like talking to people, inspiring people, letting people know that like you might be in a season in your life where it's not great, but better is coming. Like your tomorrow could be the game changer for everything. Just hold on. So for me, just being able to share that, speak to people, let people know that is like, I feel like that's why I'm on this earth, to be honest.
I love it. Just finally, like before we get into a quick fire round, are there any like just life advice, career advice? If there's one takeaway the listeners should take from this conversation, what would it be?
Okay, so I would say, so it is stemmed on scripture, which is like my favorite. Like it says, now unto him who is able to do exceedingly and abundantly more than you can ask or think, according to the power that is within us. And I think for me, that speaks to, you need to think like amazing things about yourself, amazing things about your life, amazing things about what you want to do. I'm a believer, so I believe that if I think at a number 10 level, God is able to take me to a level 100, because he's able to do exceedingly more than I could have asked or even thought or even imagined. But I feel like far too often, so many of us play it small. And yeah, you have level 2 thinking, God is able to do better for you, but he's going to only take you to like 8. Why would you want 8 when you can think at 10 and God like blow your mind in the maddest way? So I just say, for anyone who's thinking about, oh, I have this dream, or I want to change career, or I want to be this thing but no one believes in me, like back yourself and let that power within you of faith like move. Even if we don't see the manifestation of what you want yet, like hold tight and just keep on pushing, because eventually it will all work out and you'll be able to look back and be like, I'm happy that everything worked out the way that it did. And the reason why I say that, because me changing sixth form at that time when they kicked me out, it was so crazy, because when I wanted to do my A-levels again, I was reaching out to all these private like colleges to see if they would help, like let me sit my A-levels. They were charging me like 8k or like crazy amounts to redo my A-levels. But when I went back to my sixth form, that took me, when I got kicked out of my secondary school, they were like, yeah, we'll do it for like £500. Like they housed me when I didn't even consider them initially when I wanted to move. But it's just like, in hindsight, God was working everything out for me. Had I not gone to that sixth form, I wouldn't have been able to do my A-levels then. I might have had to have paid somewhere extortionate to do it. So in all things, even if life has been bad, even if things haven't aligned themselves in the way that you thought that they would, it will all make sense in the future, and just trust that there's a bigger plan.
Everything makes sense when you look backwards.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
Steve Jobs has this quote about the dots never connect. You can only connect the dots looking backwards.
That's it.
So yeah. Thank you for that.
No worries.
We do have a quick fire round.
Hit me.
You ready, yeah? Here we go. Would you rather own one high value property or multiple smaller ones?
Multiple smaller ones.
Okay. Would you rather have a guaranteed 100% occupancy rate or a guaranteed 20% increase in rental income?
Ooh. 100% occupancy, because from that I can make the rental income, the increase in the income.
Okay. Would you rather manage properties in a single high demand location or spread across multiple locations?
Single high demand.
Easy.
Yeah.
Would you rather have expert property managers or advanced management software?
Advanced management software.
Would you rather have more time for personal growth or business expansion?
Jeez. Personal growth.
Would you rather have a steady cash flow from stable rentals or take risks for potentially high returns?
Steady.
I knew
Steady.
you'd say that. Would you rather partner with one large property investor or maintain full control over your operations?
If they're more seasoned than I am and I can learn, I can partner with them.
Okay, sick. And then finally, who's your dream dinner guest?
Who is my dream dinner guest. This is big. Oh, Myron Golden.
Okay.
Yeah,
Myron.
that was so. I don't even know. I had to think about that. Myron Golden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 66666.
Crazy.
Nicole, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much.
We do have a closing tradition.
Okay.
With everything that you've been through, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self, and would you still be doing the same thing?
What advice would like? Dream even bigger. Like, fail forward is fine. Like, you're gonna be okay. It all works out eventually. Everything works out for you good. That's the advice I would give myself.
And you still be doing the same thing?
Yeah, maybe in a different path. Like, I probably maybe got here a bit faster. Or actually, I might not have been doing the same thing. I would have listened to myself. Like, maybe when I went back to Nottingham, I actually chose a job that was actually like aligned to my skill set a bit more and forsaking the money.
Yeah.
It's crazy as it is to say.
Okay. Nicole, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagrams at d.nix. You can find me on TikTok at d.nixx. And then you can find me on YouTube, Nicole Klitze.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
And we're going to link all of those. So we made her do that, but we're going to link it in the show notes anyway. And to the listeners, if you've gotten to this point in the episode, you know what to do, guys. Please like, please subscribe, please share. Please let us know. Are you going to, get into Rent-to-Rent? And if you are, make sure to hit Nicole up. Make sure to use my code. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win for everyone.
Win-win, exactly.
I'm joking. At WMBFD Pod, this has been another episode of What My Best Friend Does. If you didn't know, now you know. Now go outside and take some immediate action.